Hiya guys, and welcome back to Ades Workshop, and this part 2 of the variable speed lead screw project. Right, I managed to spit that one out. In this episode obviously we're going to carry on with the building of the setup for the variable power speed, and I'll show you a couple of my latest bargains as well. So another little find, local supermarket, middle of Lidl as they call it, Parkside brand, that's common for them. A tap set with tapping drills. Now, tap wrench here. Yes, it's a Chinese, generic, whatever you, tap wrench. Great if you haven't got one, but yeah, tap wrench, it goes in the tin. From M3 to M12, it's basically got the first tap in all the sizes. And the tapping drills to suit. Now, quick look at the drills themselves. I don't know how well it comes up on camera, but they haven't got the old backwards points, as you quite often see. They actually feel very sharp, and they are stamped high-speed steel. So, yeah, I mean, the drills are high-speed steel, and, yeah, I mean, the points on all of them, well, at a quick glance, I'd say they're fine. If I pull out the M12 tap, it doesn't actually say high-speed steel. M12 by 1.75 OWIM. I think these could be high carbon. Alright for chasing a thread out, but not much good if you were power tapping, anything like that, I wouldn't have thought. We'll see, we'll give them a try out. But yeah, the whole set, in the supermarket, as I said, the whole lot, £7.99, £7.99. So, I mean, it's worth that for the tin, in just for having a regular stand. And I mean, the drills are worth that. They are high-speed steel. They look okay. And I'm always having to regrind 6.8s and, well, all the tapping sizes for metric. So, yeah, it's nice to have them all in one tin, all in one place. I haven't even got to get the taps out and then get the drills out. It's there whenever I need it. So, yeah, very, very pleased. Because it was cheap, but whether the taps are any good, we have yet to see. Oh, and while I was there, a set of paint brushes, £2.99. I do like these circular brushes. They're great for swarf, and I use them for lubricating, cutting fluid on the jobs, that sort of thing. Perhaps that one's probably the most useful. These two, that one's probably a bit big, and these are alright for just cleaning up on the lathe. They use them a few times and throw them away. So yeah, £2.99 for a bag of brushes. Again, I think it was, what were they, Power Fix. Same supermarket, they were in Lidl's. So on the weekend I went to a local classic car show, only sort of 5 or 6 miles from home. I knew that they were going to have what they call an auto jumble, which is various parts, bits and pieces for old classic cars, that sort of thing. So if you wanted I'm not calling it a classic car, but a mud flap for a Metro, I did see one of those, or a jack for a Jaguar, yeah, that was the place to go. Anyway, my hopes weren't high, as I said, for finding anything useful. There were some blunt milling cutters they wanted £2 each for, which were pretty much useless, and there were taps and dies, but they just wanted too much money for them, an old quarter Whitworth tap, that had seen better days. They were looking for a £5, that sort of idea, so I left that lot alone. But as I was about to leave, I came across this box on one stall and found these 2 items. Well, in fact, there were several items in it, but these were the only 2 of note. And I was immediately drawn to the more and right box. So we'll come on to that. Large tap wrench, 21.5 inches long, and it's a Chatwin, which I don't know whether I brought it up, but I've got a Chatwin, smaller one. Which is 1944 War Department issue stamped on it. I'd never seen another Chatwin one, and this was in the box. I saw it was Chatwin stamped on the handle, and yeah, I mean, the biggest tap I've got is M20. So yeah, that would come in for that. M16, M20, anything smaller than that, and it's a bit of overkill. But who knows? I couldn't leave it there at the price. I think the guy asked £7 for it, so I said, yep, £7, bought it. So yeah, that was that, but it wasn't something I needed, but as it was the bigger brother, the one I've already got, I thought, why not? So moving on, this box more than right. Didn't know what was in it at the time, thought perhaps 3 to 4 mics, something like that. I'm okay for mics, not too bad off. I don't think I go 3 to 4. I think 2 to 3 is the biggest I go, but you know, with the machining I do, that's, you know, it's a bigger one. If there was one there I would have bought it, but I don't need it. But what I did want is depth mic. It's missing its spanners. The 3 rods are there. In fact, it was a little rusty. I've cleaned it up a bit. I haven't finished cleaning it up yet. Yeah, I mean, it's basically a 0 to, well, it'll be 0 to 25, 0 to 50, 0 to 75 metric depth mic. As you can see, there's a bit of scarring from the rust here. I need to do something with this. But yeah, it's all there. You know, it does go together. The top, I did have to fight to get the top off, you know, to be able to fit rods and what have you. And these do want a slight polish up. I can feel, you know, a little bit of resistance in there. So, you know, it is in need of a good clean up. But I asked the guy, oh, what do you want for that old mic? And he said, oh, I think it's damaged, meaning the rust maybe, but maybe it's because he couldn't get the lid off. A couple of quid, or a couple of pounds. So that would have been £2. So I said to him, well, I tell you what, I'll give you 8 quid for the 2. So it worked out. I paid £2 for that and £6 for that. So happy days. I could not leave that box, the More and Right box, there for £2. I really couldn't. You know, even if I found another one or whatever, and maybe it had a rod missing. I mean, one rod alone's worth more than £2. You know, the cap off the mic is worth more than £2. And it's More and Right metric one. No great age to it. I mean, perhaps 1980s. I can remember them starting to use these plastic backing pieces in the 80s, which are awful. I'll replace that, cut some foam for it, I think. And I have already cleaned up the outside of the box. As I said, I've cleaned up the worst of the rust off the parts, and cleaned up the box a bit. So yeah, great finds. So I've just connected up the new motor. It's still running on the 12 volt power supply and 12 volt variable, or the 12 volt power supply at the moment, I should say. The variable DC drive module I've got will work up to, I believe, up to about 30 volts. So anyway, I'm only supplying the variable speed unit with 12 volts, so I don't expect this motor to run at full speed. But yeah, if I turn it on, it's just, if I run it, that's flat out. Yeah, I mean, it's running at about 2/3 the speed I thought it would. But then again, it's only on 12 volts maximum. So I got the reverse direction, the forward direction, it's all working nicely. And I can slow it down on the variable speed. Yeah. And actually, even at this speed, in fact, it's not quite enough power there. Not a lot of power at that speed, but I'm expecting it to run somewhere around there at the slowest. And yeah, that really has got double the torque at low speed that the other motor had. So yeah, I'm quite confident when I put a 24 volt power supply into this, that it'll run from that sort of speed at slowest, and obviously speed up to the highest speeds. I can always, if I'm running out of the slow speeds, I can always reduce the diameter of the pulley a bit. Yeah. So, the motor bracket. A means of mounting the motor, and it's got to be able to be released. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is, I've got 2 pieces of aluminium. It's 3/4 by inch, I think, something like that. And I'm going to drill 4 holes to match up with these on the centre line to bolt that onto there, and that gives me a sort of a sliding platform for it. So I'm just having a quick measure up. There's 10mm height difference, so it's 10mm up between the 2 holes, and these are 50mm apart and these are 40mm apart. So yeah, pretty much measured it up, mark it out on here, and drill the 4 holes. So I marked it out, and it's on the wrong side. It should be on that side. Oh well. So start drilling the holes. I just started them off. I got the support under my table, so I haven't got any flex, so I'm going to be drilling I've got a better chance of drilling a straight hole. And I'm just letting the drill do the work here. I don't want to go pushing it and letting it wander off. So, I got a bit of WD-40 on it. You get the picture. I'm drilling 4 holes through this 1 inch of aluminium, and the screws are 4mm, so it's a 4.2 drill. I thought I'd give myself a fighting chance of getting them to line up. So that's the 4 holes drilled, and of course, deburred. Well, at least they did line up. 4 screws in the holes, and I've now got a flat surface to be able to mount some sort of tensioner system on. So yeah, I'm thinking another block there. It does, at that height, it is high enough to clear the base. I haven't deburred the ends of these. So what I'm thinking now is, if there were some tapped holes in here, this is going to be bolted down onto my bench. If there were some tapped holes in here and corresponding slots in the top, that would give me the facility to, obviously I'll have to work out exactly where to bolt the bottom thing on to get it in the right spot, but it would give me the possibility of sliding this back and forth just by undoing the 2 screws, push back for tension, do up the 2 screws, and that would tension the belt. And on the same note with this, if when this is connected to the pulley with no power on it, this is stopped, it's locked solid, and that would stop me being able to wind the the hand feed on the end when I don't want to use the power feed. So I do want to be able to quite quick and simply undo 2 screws, slide it forward, whip the belt off. Happy days, I can use it manually, and then when I want to put it back on and use the power feed, I just whip the belt on, slide it back into position, do up the 2 screws. Happy days. So next thing to do, I think, is going to be 2 slots in the end of here. That's going to be a bit of fun. So I've done a little bit of working out, and I'm going to need about 12mm of travel with the top piece. The motor needs to move back and forth about 12mm to enable me to get the belt on and off easily. So I had a look. I was planning on a 6mm slot, but I haven't got a cutter long enough to go right through, but I've got a brand new 8mm. So yeah, I'm going to use 8mm bolts. Simple as that, really. So what I've done, I've marked out 2 slots, the 108 centres, and they're offset the one way so that it sits, the motor sits above, the bracket's closer, or the support is closer to the motor. That's what I was spitting out, mate. Anyway, and I've actually marked out a slot, or the centres for the hole drilling of a slot, at 15 to give a little bit extra. 12 is needed, but if I do it 15, you can imagine if it was 12.5mm needed and you had to mess about with the belt. But if I got 15mm of travel, it'll just make life easy. So, first job, drill some 8mm holes on the 4 positions that I've centre popped. Well, here we are, 4 8mm holes and deburred. Now we need to set it up somehow for milling. Guess who forgot to turn the camera on? It was a bit iffy. I've got the part on the bottom here against the fixed jaw in my milling slide. I'm using the other part as a packer, piece of tool steel in the top, and there's 2 screws which clamp it this way, but there's nothing holding it back. So just belt and braces. I set up the height correct, or to the centre line, and I've got a piece of tool steel across the front, bridging across this part, and a G-clamp over the top, just belt and braces to hold it solid. So I've milled so far. I found one of the holes, and I basically am moving back and forth 15mm, plunging in 1mm at a time. So yeah, I think my current position is 5.5 in. Where are we? Yeah, it is. So let me just so into 6.5. Lock the carriage. Check everything's all right. Yeah. Start the cutter, and I'm going 1mm at a time, so yeah, not going mad. So I set my DRO to 0 at the start point. So I just wind the job towards me now, using the cross slide, till I get to 15mm on the DRO. Nearly there. That's 15. I'll just feed the cutter back across, back to my 0 mark, very quickly. I'm just doing the cut in one direction. No real need for it, but you know, if it works well in this direction, why change it? So I'll see it to 7.5 feet now, and off we go again. So I've finished off the 2 slots, and I've deburred them all, and deburred all the ends, put a couple of radiuses, what have you, tidy that up. I found 2 of my captive nuts, my combination nuts with the built-in rotating washers. I drilled the other part, basically 2 M8 holes, again 108 centres. I offset them slightly, there's a reason for that. And I've drilled 3 holes to take 3 wood screws, which is going to screw this part down onto the bench. So that basically will be sitting on top of there. It can slide back and forth, and the screws can be tightened down. So I think we'll do this little sub-assembly, put it together, screw that back onto there, and we'll have another look. So I've just nipped up the 2 nuts. I've got another 3mm of travel in this direction should I need it. I'm just trying to allow for if the belt stretches or what have you in the future. So I'll just pop the belt on. Ooh. Okay. So I pulled the motor and the bracket into position so that I got the right amount of tension. I lined it all up square. I've got some masking tape on the bench, and I've just drawn a line there and a line across the front face here. So I've got a position where to mount the lower block. So I can just pop the belt off, strip the bracket back down again, I'm using those combination nuts, the ones I use on the back of the truck with the built-in washers. So keeping that same way round, I need to clamp it in position on my lines there, which is there, clamp it down there, and screw it solidly to the bench. I just put the centre one in, tried it back on again, checked it was all square, it looked great. So, you know, that still allows me a bit of rotation with it being the centre one that I put in, but I know it was on that line there. So I've just popped these 2 screws in the hole, giving them a little tap with a hammer. Yeah, it is a knock-through screwdriver. I wouldn't normally knock the end of a screwdriver, but I couldn't get in there with a hammer. And yeah, you don't want to see me putting screws in. I'm sure you get the picture of me putting 2 screws into the bench. So I'll just do this one. And yep, same on that one. Well, that's running at about half speed. I have got my lead nuts engaged. I'll just swing it back the other way. I can slow it right down. I can't see me needing to go much slower than that, in fact. That's about as slow as I need to go. Now there will be a bit of load when it's cutting, so I'll probably have to adjust it up. And that's a good coarse feed. I mean, it will go very slow, but I don't think I'd want to go that slow. Not for long periods of time anyway. And reverse it back the other way. That's flat out. I think if I want to go slower than, much slower than about, let's have a look, about that speed with my lead screw, I think what I'll do is reduce the pulley diameter down here. But I'm going to give it a try out. So I've got it all set up. I've got a piece of steel EN8 bar up in the lathe. I thought I'd challenge it. I've got a standard carbide tip in there, not the ones for aluminium. And obviously the feed's all there set up and I'm disengaged. So I just switched the feed on. I think that's about half speed. Let's just go. Yeah. About half speed. We'll start the lathe up. Let's say about 1000 RPM. It's about 20 mil diameter. I'll just touch off. There. We'll be kind to it. I'm going to give it a 0.1 cut. That's 0.2 off the diameter. Gauge the feed. And off to go. And I'd say that's too slow. That's more like it. And that is cutting beautifully. I have experimented with this, and if I use the aluminium tips, I can run a very fine feeds. But with it being a steel bar, it's better with the standard carbide tip, and the finish I get is absolutely astonishing. So that's a 0.1 cut. And I'll bring you around and show you the cutting. I don't know whether you can see, but the finish is, well, it's like a mirror. For this little mini lathe, yeah, that's really quite something. That's out of the ordinary to be cutting that well. So that was a 0.1 cut. I got a bit of springing in there. Let me just set a 0.2 cut. I tell you what, 0.25. And I'll be kind to it. I will give it a bit of lubrication, just in the interest of looking after the tip, really. Because I don't buy these tips, I don't use them enough. So that's half mil off. So that's machining a half mil off the diameter. And again, the finish is absolutely brilliant. So let's up the ante a bit. If I come back, I'll take another 0.5. So that's taking half mil off the diameter until I get to that shoulder, and then we'll be up to removing a mil off the diameter in one go. Which is, yeah, well, we could probably do more, we'll try it. But it just goes to show there's more than enough torque in my feed. And again, the finish is still good so far, but that's only a half mil diameter cut. When I get to this shoulder, I'll be taking a mil off. Well, it's coping with that nicely. Up the ante, I think. I've got a 0.75 on the DRO, so that's going to be taking 1.5 mil off the diameter when I get to the shoulder. Let's see how the finish holds up. Still good. I'm running at 1000 RPM, and I guess that's about 19 mil diameter there now. And that is, yeah, that is a fine feed. That's about as fine as I would be with a fine feed on. Here we go. Now, here's the motor come under load, but she's still having it with blue chips. So I think what I'll do, I'll take a 0.05, something like that. I don't want to waste this bit of bar. I'll slow her down. Probably a little bit too slow that, but we'll see. if I was using a bit of high-speed steel, I'd be able to put a really fine feed on this. I can hear that grating of it. It needs speeding up. Tell you what, let's try a big cut, another mill there on a finer feed. Yeah, even at that very slow feed rate, I'd say, I'll just do a quick count. I'm doing about a mil a second, I'd say, of travel. Of course, the glory of it is, if I slow the spindle down, let me just stop this. Yeah, the glory of it is, I'll bring it off, bring the cut off so you can hear me. The good thing about this is that regardless of what spindle speed I do, if I take her up to say 1400 there, or back to a really slow spindle speed, the feed rate or the feed in travel stays constant. So yeah, I mean, that gives me many more options of feed without messing about having to go in and change gears for different, you know, to get the finish correct and what have you. So yeah, I'm gonna go for it on this one. Let's see where we are. Let me just see if it'll take that 2 mil there. And I don't expect it to do this in normal use. I don't think I would push the lathe that hard. Give it a bit of love. So yeah. Here we go. So on this little lathe, I'm taking 4 mil off the diameter in one cut. I'm actually getting really nice chips there. Let's up the feed a bit. That is, I'd say that's going for it on this little lathe. I'm taking 4 mil off the diameter. I'm probably doing about 80 mil of travel a minute. Getting lovely chip breakage. I think I can pretty much say it's doing everything. Let's not waste my bar. I can pretty much say it's doing everything I would require of it. So yeah, quite happy with the overall result. It all seems to work quite nicely. I think moving forward I'm going to have to put some sort of guarding on here. Can you imagine getting your finger caught under there as it was revolving? Ouch. But I want it to be easily removable, something that will come off quite easy, or easily I should say, so that I can still access the 2 bolts, undo them quickly, slip the belt off and use the hand feed as well. So yeah, a bit of cardboard templating I think, and we'll go from there. Well, I think that just about wraps this one up. Yeah, I'm really happy with how it turned out. It works perfectly. A little bit noisy, the gear train in the motor. I think I'll probably take that apart, put a bit of grease in it maybe. I'll have a look, see what I find when I open it up. Apart from that, absolutely brilliant. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks so much for subscribing. Welcome to all you new subscribers, and we'll see you all very soon. Cheers now.